Good morning, Ian.
Good morning.
Welcome to Dubai Works Business Podcast. So Freedom Pizza is a really popular brand around Dubai that everyone knows and loves, and you're the founder of that. Can you tell us how you got there?
So Freedom started, well, I've been in Dubai for 20 years, and I've been, my previous business sort of led to Freedom and gave me the freedom to set up my new business, which was, so my previous business we sold at the end of 2006. I had to stay with them for 3 years. So when I finished with my tenure, I wanted to do something different. And at the time I wanted, my first daughter was born, so I wanted to do something healthier that was more meaningful. And the idea of a healthier fast food chain became very attractive to me.
Amazing. So you've always been an entrepreneur?
Not always been an entrepreneur. I think I was an entrepreneur at heart, but it took me a while to have the courage to do it. So it was just after, I was pretty much a career guy my whole life. So I worked for, KPMG, Arthur Andersen, all the big sort of firms, and had this sort of proper career. But
so consultancy across industry.
Yeah, but it was also, I was in hospitality and real estate, but and finance. But it was it was basically in consultancy and brokerage and things like that. So.
Why pizza, and how did that start? Was it a food brand, but was it particularly pizza?
So it wasn't particularly pizza. I like the idea, being in business previously, I like and I have a food and beverage background, but I like the idea, which was more in fine dining, but I like the idea of creating something that's very scalable. So the idea of combining food and beverage with scale, that business with scalability was very interesting to me, and fast food seemed like the right place to be.
Just touching on that, many people, and we see lots of fast food chain businesses out of the US, and there aren't as many that we might know as household names out of the Middle East, especially going back a decade or so. Do you think that that's a challenge for entrepreneurs here? Do you think what you were doing is a bit kind of going into the unknown and creating a fast food brand here? I
don't think so, because Dubai is the crossroads of the world. So I think and we are largely a product. We're part of the DNA of this country. This is such an entrepreneurial country, so that spirit lives in us because this is such a dynamic economy. It's entrepreneurial. It's very pro-business. Today, I think Dubai is positioned as the crossroads of the world, and and it has great talent. It has a great entrepreneurial ecosystem, and it's a great place to start a business. Okay, so Krush is it's the future of our company, and it's something that we've just recently introduced because we now have 3 brands plus an IT company. We just launched Wildflower Poke. We opened the first one. The second one will open in August.
What sort of concept is that?
So Wildflower Poke is a healthier. It's actually called Wildflower Poke and More. Eventually we'll KFC it, and it'll just be Wildflower, but we wanted to emphasize the fact that it's more than just poke bowls. So it's healthy, and for people who don't know, poke is it's basically a Hawaiian dish that's it's sort of deconstructed sushi. So it's marinated raw fish with really fresh ingredients. It was super healthy. But we also did a whole bunch of other things. We did a Beyond Beef burger and Korean fried chicken. So we did everything healthy, but but better chef driven.
That's in Studio City.
Yeah.
You mentioned Beyond Beef burgers. Is that actually the meat from Beyond?
Yeah, and it's superb. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian, but I tell you, it's superb.
Really?
I order it all the time. Yeah, it is absolutely superb. I've hired a bunch of new folks internationally, but we brought on a chef from Los Angeles, Chef Justin Snyder, and we're working on, so we just launched Wildflower. To put it in context, I met him 10 months ago in California, and within 10 months we developed this brand, which will have 4 stores open by the end of this year.
And you touched on the technology side and the delivery platform. So can you explain that a bit more?
On one side, we have our tech platform, which consumers see as an online ordering platform. So today, over 55% of our orders are coming in through our own proprietary platform. I have a company in Hungary, based in Hungary, in Budapest, that develops, and all they do is develop for us. So we've got a team of full-time developers. And so what consumers see is the web online ordering and all that, but it's also very powerful for us on the back end. And we have years of development and improvement. So that's just an ongoing project, and it serves all of the brands. So all of our brands are on that platform.
As opposed to being on other delivery platforms.
On delivery and so people, if they want to order from us, they have to order direct. But they'll eventually be able to order from all of our brands with a common checkout and a common registration. So that's where we're heading with this. Now, you might like Wildflower Poke, your children might like Freedom Pizza, but you'll be able to, and the brands will stand alone because we want them to have their own identities. They're all going to be chef driven, be focused on sustainability and all the things that we care about as a company. but super fast delivery and convenience. And we have a team on the other side of 200 professional delivery drivers that are just ours, that do our, that we've now called Powered by Freedom, this platform. And by the end of this year, we'll have over 300 drivers on the road. We were in the delivery business. I was very fortunate, so I can't say that I was so visionary that I saw it coming, but I did see the technology side. So setting up our own tech, I saw, because I saw that as critical to the success of our business, as just as what we were doing previously. But today, I think real estate is less important. And the cost of, so real estate is actually the problem. Most businesses are based on larger real estate footprints. For me, it's all about revenue per square foot. I need to meet my customers where they are, and the more I can do that, the more universal I can be to fit into their lives, the more successful I'll be. And technology is the bridge for that. Freedom is the one that's ready to franchise, and we're doing that now. We're in discussions with some people that we really like, and to open up in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the Gulf. Yeah. But where we're really going as well, in addition to that, is the UK. And people always ask me why the UK, and there's probably more reasons than I can tell you on this podcast, but it's a great market for my business, for the type of business that we're in, and we've studied it at length, and we believe that if we can get 2 or 3 of these wrap stores going in the UK, that it's a very rich, very deep market. What we found is that we are sort of midway at the moment, and so people don't know what to make of us because they look at us as a food and beverage. They want to value us as a food and beverage company, but they want all the tech, and they're looking at us because of all that too, but they don't want to pay for it. So if I just went to somebody and said, I've got this tech and this platform and I can do delivery, the valuation would be nonsensical, which most of the IPOs today are. Yeah. I'll leave Beyond Meat out of it because I believe in that one. But the Ubers and the Lyfts, that have no path to profitability that anybody can see, are valued at 80, 40, but it's just ridiculous valuation. So so we haven't bridged that gap yet. So I believe that when we demonstrate it, that's when we'll bridge the gap. Because so once we, I call it wrapping the business by wrapping the tech, wrapping the brands.
Do you think that the market, in this category, needs to meet halfway? And how do you get the kind of metrics to kind of convince people?
Well, I think we're first of all, we're bootstrapping, so it's all my cash. And we have some smaller investors now that are starting to get involved because I think they're seeing what we're doing, but not at the corporate level. We have to, in my view, we have to demonstrate it because, and I believe that our model is sound. Of course I would, but I don't believe in Uber's model. I don't believe in Lyft's model. I don't believe in Deliveroo's model, unless unless they want to be acquired to go public and exit, which everybody seems to be interested in. I'm everything. I'm a tech company. I have operations. I have brands. I have marketing. I have, I have all of the, culinary. So I have everything. So I get to retain everything in that value chain. Now it's harder work and it takes longer to get there, and people don't really understand it yet. But that's my thesis. Is that's where the real value lies. And it's sort of, if you look at the scheme of things, I look at Tesla and I look at Uber, right? So everybody's valuing. Everyone's. I don't know if I can swear, but everybody's pissing all over Uber. Yeah. Sorry, Tesla right now.
Tesla, yeah.
And Uber is, obviously they fumbled the IPO, but they still got $75–80 billion from the markets. And I just look at, if you look at Tesla, I kind of see it. We're not Tesla, but he owns this entire value chain. He solved for the value chain, whereas Uber actually have nothing. They've got something, but they've got one very extreme end of the, they focused on one extreme end of the value chain. And the question is, who's going to win? Who's going to get there in the end? So you go down to DFC, there's 10 restaurants, and there's only 2 that are, always full. Yeah. It's because they're offering experience and value consistently. The others spent just as much money, if not more, but they're not succeeding. And the question is why? And the answer to me is that it's quality, and they're offering an experience that the others don't. For me, the holy grail is putting that. Putting the experience back into the convenience, and I think we're going to come full circle a little bit on that because people are drunk with, excuse the expression, they're drunk with convenience. I could get things I couldn't get before. We forget that 5 years ago you couldn't get delivery from, 1,000 restaurants. And I think we're going to come back. I look at the aggregator apps, you flip through, I don't know, any of the restaurants, I wonder, they all look okay, but they mean nothing to me, and it's just a smorgasbord of food. But most people don't order from 100 restaurants. They order from 1 or 2 or 3 restaurants, on a regular basis. So that choice and that convenience, I think, is going to distill back as it becomes more commoditized to experience and brand. And,
fascinating space, and one that's constantly evolving. That's all we've got time for today. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And glad to have you back on in future.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.